Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lora Rolling and this is part 10 of the Santa and his reindeer ornament tutorial. This is Santa and his reindeer. I love this ornament so much. It's such a fun project. Super colorful, super Christmassy. And today we're going to be making the unit called Rudolph. If you haven't seen parts 1 through 9 yet, that's okay. You can do these out of order. I'll have those videos listed down below in the description. That way when you finish this one, you can go back and watch those. We just have a few materials to get ready, so let's get them listed and then we can get started. Let's go. So the beads that we'll be using in today's video are all Miyuki Delicas. I have opaque light sapphire, white pearl AB, dyed silver lined red, opaque black, matte metallic bronze gold iris, and pink lined light blue. Just to keep it simple, I'm going to call this blue, white, red, black, brown, and dark purple. We'll also need some beading thread and a beading needle. I like to use my Eslon Fire thread in the color Crystal, and this is a 4-pound thread. You could also use a 6-pound thread. And then I like to use a size 10 beading needle. A size 11 or a size 12 would also work. For implements, I like to use my long nose pliers to hold on to my thread at the end of the video. And then I cut my thread with scissors. And then today I'm going to show you how I use the fire method to end the tail. So we just need to thread our needle with about 3 feet of thread, and then we can get started. So I've threaded my needle and now I'm ready to pick up my first 3 beads. Let's pick up 3 blue beads. And then we're going to take our beads and we're going to pull them down to the bottom of our thread, leaving about a 6-inch tail. Now we're going to cross over on top and pull the tail through. And then we're going to cross over on top again and pull the tail through. So now we have 2 loops. I'm going to put my fingers in the lower loop, the one that has the beads in it, and then I'm going to tug on the tail thread in one direction and the long thread in the other direction until that top loop turns into a knot. So now I'm going to take the tail and I'm not going to touch it to the flame, but I'm going to get it super close so it melts the tip. And it turns the tip into this teensy little knot or bead. Now, keeping my fingers in the loop, I'm going to be pulling on the long thread while I'm twisting the loop until that little knot at the end of the tail touches the long thread. Now I'm going to take that knot and I'm going to take my thumbnail and pull it all the way down to the beads. And it turns the beads into this teensy little triangle, and that completes row number 1. So if your knot is in between 2 of the beads, then tug it over to one side so that it looks like it's coming out of one of the beads. It also looks like the thread is coming out of that bead. So now we're ready to pick up our next 2 beads. Let's pick up 2 blue beads. And our thread looks like it's coming out of this bead, so we're going to sew through the next bead, the one that it doesn't look like it's coming out of. And then we're going to try to get those new beads to sit right on top of the beads below them. I like to call those the buddy beads. So the new beads are sitting right on top of their buddies. Now let's pick up 2 blue beads. And we're coming out of this bead, so let's sew through the next bead. And once again, make sure that your new beads are sitting right on top of their buddies. Now let's pick up 2 more blue beads. And we're coming out of this bead, so let's sew through the next. And this time we're going to sew through the buddy bead as well. So when we're sewing through 2 beads, what we're doing is stepping up, putting our thread in position to start the next row. So that means that we've completed row number 2 and we're ready to start row number 3. Starting row number 3, let's pick up 1 brown and 1 blue bead. And sew through the next bead. Always making sure that they're sitting right on top of their buddies. Now let's pick up 1 blue bead. And we're coming out of this bead. If you notice, the next bead is actually set downward a bit. We're going to skip that downward bead and we're going to sew through the bead that's poking up. So we're skipping the down bead and we're sewing through the up bead. Now let's pick up 1 white and 1 blue and sew through the next bead. Now let's pick up 1 blue. We're going to skip the down bead. We're going to sew through the up bead. Now we'll pick up 1 white and 1 blue and sew through the next. And now we'll pick up 1 blue and sew through the up bead and the buddy bead. So those are the last 2 beads, and that means that we're stepping up. We've completed row number 3, and now we get to start row number 4. Let's start by picking up 1 brown and 1 blue and sew through the next. Then we'll pick up 1 blue and sew through the up. 1 white and sew through the up. 1 white and 1 blue and sew through the next. One blue and sew through the up. One blue and sew through the up. Two blue beads and sew through the next. One blue and sew through the up. And one blue. This is the last bead in this row, so let's sew through the last two beads, stepping up, and now we get to start row number 5. Let's start by picking up 2 blue beads, then 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 white, 2 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 2 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, and 1 brown. Sewing through the last 2 beads, and now we get to start row number 6. Let's start with 2 blue beads, one blue, one blue, one white, one white, two blue, one blue, one blue, one blue, one blue, two brown beads, one blue, one red, one blue, and one brown. Sewing through the last 2 beads, and now we get to start row number 7. Let's start with 2 blue beads, oops, one blue, one blue, one blue, one white, one blue, two blue beads, one blue, one blue, one blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 2 brown beads, 1 brown, 1 red, 1 brown, 1 brown, and 1 blue. Sewing through the last 2 beads, and now we get to start row number 8. Let's start with 2 blue beads, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue and 1 white, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 2 blue beads, 1 brown, 1 brown, 1 red, 1 brown, 1 brown, and 1 blue. Sewing through the last 2 beads, and now we get to start row number 9. Let's start with 2 brown beads, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 black, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 2 blue beads, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 black, 1 blue, 1 blue, 2 blue beads, 1 blue, 1 brown, 1 red, 1 brown, 1 brown, 1 blue, and 1 blue. Sewing through the last 2 beads. And now we get to start row number 10. Let's start with 2 blue beads, 1 blue, 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 2 blue beads, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 blue, 2 blue beads, 1 blue, 1 brown, 1 brown, 1 red, 1 brown, 1 brown, 1 blue, 1 blue, and sew through the last 2 beads. And now we get to start row number 11. Let's start with 2 blue beads, 1 blue, 1 brown, 1 blue, 1 black, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 2 blue beads, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 white, 1 blue, 1 black, 1 blue, 1 blue, 2 blue beads, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 brown, 1 red, 1 brown, 1 brown, 1 brown, 1 blue, and 1 blue. Sewing through the last 2 beads. And now we get to start row number 12. Let's start with 2 brown beads, 1 blue, 1 brown, 1 brown, 1 black, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 2 blue beads, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 white, 1 dark purple, 1 white, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, 2 blue beads, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 brown, 1 brown, 1 red, 1 brown, 1 brown, 1 blue, 1 blue, and 1 blue. Sewing through the last 2 beads. And that completes our 12 rows of our triangle. Now, if this is the first triangle that you've ever done with me, you'll see that I add connection beads to some of the sides, and every unit is different. Those connection beads are so that we can connect our units together and complete the project. So this particular unit, we are not going to have any beads going down this side, but we are going to have beads on this side, and then we're not going to have any on the top. We also cap the corners with 1 bead each, turning it into a point. And so let's cap this corner with 1 brown bead. And it turns it into a little point. And now, because we're not going to add any connection beads along this side, what I like to do is turn my unit over, and now I'm going to sew up 1 bead per row until I get all the way up to this bead. So that's our goal. We want to end in this bead right here. And we're not adding any more beads going along until we get to that top corner bead. We're just sewing, and I like to sew along this quadrant line. That's just my preference, but you can really sew through any bead that you want as long as you're hiding your thread. That's the whole goal, right? This is also when I ask the question of the day. And since this triangle is called Rudolph, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is actually one of my very favorite Christmas movies. I love the classics. So if you can take a moment and comment down below what your favorite Christmas movie is, oh my gosh, I would love to see what everybody's favorite is. So comment down below and then come back and we will end in this corner bead right here. Meanwhile, I'm going to just be working my way up. Yeah, I love the classics. I've always shown my children the classics too, and I really think that those are their favorites as well. Although I love them all. I'm telling you, it can be, you know, It's a Wonderful Life, or, you know, just all of the fantastic ones. You know, the old black and whites. Oh my gosh, those are amazing. Or it can be like the new, oh my gosh, I watch Hallmark movies all the time. The Christmas movies are my favorite. But yeah, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. That's a classic, right? Alrighty, so we are up at the corner bead. Now we're going to cap this corner with one blue bead, turning it into a point. And now we're going to add connection beads along this side. So let's start with one blue, one blue, one blue, one brown, one white, one dark purple, one blue, one white, one blue, one blue, and one blue. Now we are up at the third corner. Let's cap it by adding one blue bead, turning that corner into a point. And now let's secure our beads by sewing up 6 beads or 6 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now let's do what I like to call the zigzag. We're coming out of the top of this bead. Let's sew in the opposite direction in the bead right next to that. So we're sewing down the bead right next to the one we're coming out of. And then we're going to sew up the bead right next to that one. So doing a little bit of a zigzag. Now let's sew up 2 more rows, 1 bead at a time. 1 and 2. And now let's do another zigzag. Coming out of the top of this bead, let's sew down the bead right next to it, and up the bead right next to that one, and then up 2 more rows, 1 bead at a time. 1 and 2. And now I feel that these last beads that we've added are super secure. They're not going to come loose when we're connecting our units. So let's cut our thread. Picking up our thread with our long nose pliers, and then getting our scissors as close to the bead as possible without cutting the bead. Let's just snip off the thread. And that completes our unit, and we only need 1 of these for this project, so I will see you in a sec. That was so much fun. Thank you so much for being here with me today and beading along with me. Remember to like and subscribe and hit that bell button so you're notified when the next video comes out. I can't wait to see you there. Thanks for watching.